So in this video, I wanted to take a quick look at the Sailor 1911 Profit Professor fountain pen. And what this is a very affordable fountain pen from Sailor in the line of the 1911. But it's $30 instead of maybe $150 or whatever a true 1911 sells for. But it is similar and has some nice qualities of a Sailor fountain pen, so I think it's worth considering this pen if you're in the market. You can see it has a classic black and gold look, classic Sakara shape, resin or plastic body. So a lot of the standards are there. It has a Sailor style clip, just like the 1911. It's not as stylized as this one here, but it does have that sort of shape. Metal band around it that does say Sailor, made in Japan. Very nice. Opening up, we can see it has a very simple steel nib. It doesn't want to focus, but it has a simple steel nib. Has a Sailor anchor on there and M for medium. And it is a gold colored nib. It's not a gold nib, it's a stainless steel nib. So that's one of the big differences between this pen and the 1911, which has, in this case, a 14 karat gold nib. And you can see there's a pretty big difference between those two. Just one is much more stylized and fancy, and the other one is much plainer, but much more affordable. The interesting thing is that it does write like a Sailor. So it has that sort of Sailor level of feedback, which what most people buying a Sailor fountain pen are looking for. So standard plastic black feed, relatively small body, screw top cap, nice design, but definitely on the small side. This is a nice pen to post because it is nice and balanced and it writes well posted, and it's frankly just a little bit too small, at least for me, to write with it unposted. It's fine for quick notes, but if you're doing a significant amount of writing, you want to put that cap on top. Screws open. We can see it's a very simple plastic body. There's no finial, nothing fancy. It's just a resin or plastic body. Literally no designs on this. You can see here no metal hardware, just plastic in the section material, plastic feed, stainless grip, stainless steel nib, but all plastic in the grip area. It uses Sailor's proprietary cartridge, so it includes 2 cartridges, or you could buy a converter, and a converter will fit, but you do need a Sailor converter. Again, no metal hardware here, just it's very light. I think the whole pen weighs about 12 grams. Cap is a little bit nicer. You can see a nice metal cap band with Sailor style writing there. Metal clip that actually works quite well, and it's very distinguished looking. And then that tapered design, nothing on top, but it's a nice clean design. Screws down, and screws down nicely, but you don't get any real sort of high-tech there's no slip and seal mechanism like a platinum or anything like that. It's a very simple pen for a pretty reasonable price tag. And the only thing I noticed is there's a little bit of a crease or something right here. It could be a little hard to make out, but it's almost as if this piece right here was inserted instead of being made out of that one piece of plastic. I'm not quite sure what that is, but you could definitely sort of feel it. Doesn't really have any effect on it. You can probably just about make it out, but it's a little bit odd. Interesting comparison for this pen would be the Pilot Explorer, which sells for about maybe $20, $25. I don't quite recall. But this thing is all plastic, and it's larger, and it has a stainless steel nib. So it's a very similar pen, all plastic and having a stainless steel nib. And the difference is obviously that it's larger. But I would just say that the Sailor feels much, much nicer. The grade of plastic on this feels like a 1911, whereas the grade of plastic on this Pilot feels like almost like a disposable. So if you're in the market for a more affordable fountain pen, then it's kind of crazy what the difference in price will get you in between something like this and something like this. I guess not so much the difference in price, but the difference in choosing from one vendor, with a kind of, I think, a US focused pen towards one of these Japan only pens where you're really seeing a lot more bang for your buck. As far as writing with it, it writes like a sailor, which is probably what you're looking for. And that is to say that it has a lot of feedback in the nib. So this is the sailor, and it's called the 1911 Prophet Professor. And some vendors called this a limited edition. I'm not really sure that it is a limited edition, but that's definitely what they said. And you can buy this off eBay or a few different sites. It's not that hard to find. So, limited line variation. It is a stiffer steel nib, but it does write nicely. Nice feedback, and you could hear it here. So, definitely a nice writing nib. Not as smooth as a gold, but fun to use. And it's very well behaved for a cheaper steel nib. It doesn't dry out. It goes, the number of hard stops are very limited. It's just a nice, well behaved nib. I have it here in the medium. Here's a medium Sailor 1911. So this has definitely the same amount of feedback, I would say, but the golden nib is a lot more expressive, and it definitely has a nicer, smoother, I guess it has more personality to it than the steel. The steel is nice, because it writes like a sailor. It definitely has that sort of, I guess, expressiveness and feedback, and has that sailor feel to it, but you don't get the same level of feel for the paper or the same variation as you do with the gold. It's a little finer too. I think the ink is just like, the steel just runs a little bit drier. Yeah, so with the steel, stiffer, finer feeling, drier, gold, again, wetter, more expressive, no real shocks there. But this is a nice, well-behaved nib, and for $30, I think this pen is a pretty good deal, so long as you're okay with the size. And just to get a better idea of the size, here it is. Here's it next to a Pilot Explorer. Here is a Sailor 1911. You can see a good deal larger. It also is a wider pen. I guess not that much larger, but it's definitely a bigger, wider pen. And then here's something like a Platinum 3776. It's a larger, fatter pen. And you can really see that difference when you take the cap off. And these things do not want to stay, but when you take the cap off, you can start to see just how small this 1911 Prophet Professor looks. Small pen, and what happens is it becomes a very skinny pen, and that is kind of where you feel how small it is. It's interesting with these fountain pens, when they have like a small pen and that's the more affordable version, the difference between that and a full-size pen is always like 4 millimeters in length or something minimal, but you do feel it. And most of us don't want a giant pen, so something like this can make sense, but you have to be okay with the size. So yeah, in conclusion, Sailor 1911 Prophet Professor fountain pen sells for about $30. I think it's a really good deal. It's a nice pen, looks great. I think it would make for a nice gift. If you gave this as a gift, someone's gonna think you spent probably like $60, $70. In fact, you only spend 30. Comes in red and black. Obviously, I have it in the black here. And then it sells in, let me get the sizes down. For the nib, sells in, I believe, mainly in a medium and a medium fine. I'm sure there's a fine out there. I don't know how many options there are, since there's not that many official vendors. You're probably gonna end up buying this thing from eBay, but there are some very good deals to be had if you shop around. So that's it. Sailor, Profit, Professor, and then check below for the details. Thanks for watching.